Hey guys, it's Ed. Decided to make this video because some people had questions about the way I set up the guitars I use for slide. And obviously there's several different approaches to this and everything's subjective for everyone's different tastes, but I can show you what I usually do on a few different guitars I have for a usual slide setup. Let's start off with an acoustic here. This is a basic Yamaha Dreadnought. I play a lot. Didn't do a whole lot to this one set up for slide. All I did was raise the nut on this, two little shins of business card stock. I usually just cut up the packaging Diodario strings comes in because it's about the right thickness. I just cut two little strips under the nut to raise it, and I left the stock saddle on there, so it's still got the 12-inch radius on there. But the only other major difference that it was put a good set of Spurzl tuners on here. Obviously with high string tension you want good tuners. And the string gauges I use on this for open D tuning is from high to low. Got a 16, 18, 26, 36, 46, and 56. It's just a 13 gauge Diodario electric guitar string set that I just subbed a 16 and 18 for the plain strings, so it's nice and loud with a heavy gauge on there. So that's usually all I do for acoustics. Nice and simple, works fine. Now I also have an arch top over here. This guitar has a 0 fret on it, so I left the nut alone on it. It's just the regular little 0 fret. By the way, it's about a 1963, I believe, Echo Mascot. Kind of an unusual guitar nowadays, I guess, but arch top, man. Yeah, on this I just raised the bridge up a little bit so you got the pretty high action on there. The neck on this guitar was twisted, so it's pretty much about all you can use it for is slide anyway. It's got a, if I can see, it's got a pretty big twist in it, so can't really play it fretted, but works well for slide. Just like on the Dreadnought, I got 16 to 56 gauge strings on this in open D, except I have Diodario chromes on here, which are flat wound. See a little sheen to them there. Nice and smooth so you don't get all the scratchiness. Yeah, pretty simple set for arch top, just raise the bridge a little bit and away you go. Now, for electrics, I like Fenders a lot, and I'll show you why. This guitar right here was a Strat I found in the trash, and has the usual tremolo bridge on it. Oddly enough though, this one had a locking nut. So what I ended up doing to raise the nut on this is I put some washers under the nut just to shim it up, about the right height. And I took the string locks off and actually put a piece of shoelace under the strings to get rid of the ringing sounds. And works just fine. The string still rests on metal at the end, so it's not going to dampen it or anything. And for the bridge, since, once again, with heavy string gauges, you don't want your bridge moving, left all 5 springs in, cut a piece of walnut to block it. And for the saddle, you notice it's not the usual 6 that you get on a Strat. That is a 3/8 inch eye bolt that I cut up and just polished a little bit. I just let the strings rest on that, straight line on radius, just like on a lap steel. And also took a countersinking bit to the string through holes here just to smooth them out a little bit so the strings don't snap, because wound third strings like to break. This guitar I've set up in open E tuning. String gauges on this, I got a 15 for the high E, and then 18, 24, let's see, 32, 42, and 52. It's a 12 gauge Diodario set with a 15 and an 18 for the top two. I use this guitar for open E. So that's what I did to set this up. Once again, just raise the nut and pop a bolt in place of a saddle setup usually that you find. Now another saddle design that I use on the Squire here. This one I started with a 5/16 square rod, and I shaped it kind of like an arch top saddle. I just cut it out with a file, give it like a gradual round over, but it's still square, so it sits flush on the bridge. And it's just held in place with the two mounting screws right there. I put a pan head screw instead of the countersunk ones on there so it would intentionally stick up. And this is like a top load bridge you frequently find in most Squires. Not string through, just hardtail. And for the nut on this is what I usually do on Fender guitars. It's the stock nut, but I just shimmed it once again, 2 pieces like cardstock or the D'Addario string package is cut up, stick under there. In this guitar I also have 15 to 52 gauge strings on it, except this guitar has flat wounds on it, D'Addario chromes. Nice and smooth. And if you want to go really extreme, you can do what I did on this guitar, which is a SX Hawk. And it still has a tremolo block in the back of it, but I cut it up on a grinder so it doesn't actually have the ability to have an arm put in it anymore. It's just a block. And I made a completely new bridge plate for it out of an outlet cover. I got at the hardware store. I just did it to bridge the gap of the tremolo routing, so it's bolted to the top of the guitar, some stainless steel screws. And I made a saddle for this one as well out of the same 5/16 steel rod. But I made the center of the saddle where the strings peak on it because of where the intonation on the scale length rest usually. So it's nice, and then it doesn't move around at all with the high string tension. And on this guitar I also just raised the nut up a little bit. It's got the 16 56 gauge flat wounds on here. And if you saw this weird thing out the back of the headstock, that was just a little experiment I did with some other rod. Just add a little sustain, kind of like we see with the Groove Tube's fat fingers. Add a little bit, get some more harmonics in the higher end, but just makes it bounce on a strap a little better. So fun experiment, $80 guitar. That's usually how I set up my guitars for slide. Basically fat strings, high action, and unradiused bridge. So there you go. Thanks for watching.